Immigration has divided the nation.
U.S. suspends immigrant visa processing for 75 countries.
Migrants. People. Each one had a story, a hope, a dream.
In the day's other headlines, the Trump administration is suspending the processing of visa applications for citizens from 75 countries. That includes green cards, fiancé visas, and certain kinds of work visas. Among the countries listed by the State Department today are Afghanistan, Brazil, Colombia, Egypt, Iran, and Russia. In a statement, the State Department said the pause is meant to prevent the entry of foreign nationals who would take welfare and public benefits. The new policy starts January 21st. It will not apply to those seeking non-immigrant visas or temporary tourist or business visas.
From Washington, a major shift in United States immigration policy is generating international debate. The Trump administration has moved to temporarily suspend the processing of visa applications for citizens from 75 countries. The decision affects a range of visa categories, including immigrant visas, fiancé visas, and certain types of employment-based work visas. The announcement was issued by the U.S. State Department earlier today and marks one of the largest single adjustments to visa processing seen in recent decades. According to the State Department's written statement, the suspension is designed to prevent the entry of foreign nationals who, in the words of the department, would take welfare and public benefits. Administration officials say the pause is aimed at ensuring that immigrants entering the United States can support themselves financially without relying on government-funded assistance. The countries included in the suspension span multiple regions and income levels. Among them are Afghanistan, Brazil, Colombia, Egypt, Iran, and Russia, alongside dozens of other nations across Africa, the Middle East, Latin America, and Asia. The policy is scheduled to take effect on January 21st, and it will not apply to non-immigrant visa categories. This means that travelers seeking short-term tourism or business visas and students with approved academic placements are not included in the suspension. The decision comes at a moment when global migration flows remain high, with rising numbers of people seeking mobility for economic opportunity, education, or safety. It also aligns with the Trump administration's broader approach to immigration, emphasizing national security, economic self-sufficiency, and reduced public expenditure on incoming migrants. This is CBNEWS. Subscribe to our channel for daily world news update. Stay tuned. United States immigration law is shaped by a broad set of statutes, court rulings, and executive authorities. While Congress writes immigration law, executive agencies are responsible for enforcing and administratively managing visa processing, border policy, and residency pathways. Over the past several decades, U.S. presidents from both major political parties have utilized executive authority to adjust immigration rules, regulate visa vetting standards, or temporarily suspend certain forms of entry. Previous administrations have taken similar but narrower actions during periods of conflict, health crises, or national security concern. For example, temporary entry restrictions were enacted in response to the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. Security-related visa reforms were introduced following the September 11th attacks, and travel suspensions were implemented during COVID-19 for dozens of countries. What distinguishes the current policy is its broad scope. 75 countries represent a significant portion of the developing world, including major population centers and key regional economies. Although the full internal criteria for the selection of countries has not been released, the State Department's statement referenced financial self-sufficiency and public benefits as justification. That reference connects the measure to a policy approach known as public charge rules, which assess whether an immigrant could depend on government assistance after arrival. In U.S. law, the public charge standard dates back to 19th century immigration legislation, but its interpretation has shifted over time. In recent years, the Trump administration has pushed for a stricter application of that standard, requiring expanded financial documentation and raising the threshold for proving economic self-reliance. The newly announced visa suspension builds on that approach, applying it across a wider geographic range rather than through individual case-by-case assessment. Immigration experts note that suspension of visa processing does not automatically bar entry entirely. Instead, it temporarily halts the approval pipeline for specific visa types. This has downstream effects. Families may face delays in reunification. Companies may experience difficulties in talent recruitment, and consular processing backlogs may expand once the suspension eventually expires. International reaction to the announcement has varied widely. Some governments have requested clarification on its duration and scope, while others have expressed concern over the potential diplomatic and economic consequences. For many countries, visas to the United States enable academic exchange, labor mobility, family reunification, and long-term migration. A sudden halt to immigrant and fiancé visa processing could hinder these pathways and create uncertainty for applicants already midway through the application process. Brazil and Colombia, two of the countries on the list, are among Latin America's largest economies. Egypt and Iran are key strategic states in the Middle East, while Russia remains one of the world's major geopolitical actors. Afghanistan, still grappling with ongoing humanitarian and economic challenges, has a significant number of citizens seeking relocation or family reunification abroad. The inclusion of such diverse nations underscores the global scale of the policy. Diplomatic analysts point out that immigration is frequently linked to broader foreign policy priorities. Visa categories can impact trade, tourism, scientific cooperation, and bilateral security arrangements. Suspensions, therefore, carry symbolic weight beyond their administrative function. For U.S. companies, particularly in technology, medicine, and engineering fields, employment-based immigrant visas are often a source of international expertise. The temporary halt may put pressure on sectors that rely on global recruitment to remain competitive. At the same time, the United States remains one of the world's largest destinations for immigrants, international students, and foreign investment. Even with periodic restrictions, the U.S. immigration system approves hundreds of thousands of visas annually. Supporters of the new policy argue that ensuring financial self-sufficiency among new arrivals reduces burdens on public systems, protects taxpayer resources, and aligns immigration with national economic interests. Critics counter that immigration contributes to U.S. innovation, entrepreneurship, labor force growth, and demographic balance. CB News, bringing you World News Update. Thank you for watching.